in life, are you interesting? Are you so amazing and you have so much about yourself that you want everyone to know everything about it? And so you go around and you tell everybody about how great you are and all the cool things you've got and the amazing accomplishments that you've made. And that's your prime focus in life, is to talk about you. Maybe you are, or maybe you're interested in other people and you're confident because of the things that you've created and the things that you've done and the places that you've went. And all of those things give you the ability to have more relatability to other people. And you look into other people and you pull out their greatness. Is that you? Are you interested or are you interesting? Or are you both? I would challenge you to find the balance and be both. Be interested in other people, because who do you know that doesn't like to talk about themselves and the things that they are happy about, that they are proud of, the things that make them smile? I don't know many people that don't want to talk about that. Even the most insecure people have the biggest smiles on their faces when you find out the things that make them smile and you encourage them to talk about it. I know a lot of people that would just love to talk about themselves and that would change conversations just to talk about them. And I know how I felt and the other people felt, because I could look on their faces and see the discomfort when that individual would continuously talk about themselves. Don't be that person. Be the person that is interested in other people. If you want buy-in, speak to them in a way that makes them proud about who they are. Speak to them in a way that gives them the hope that they can be something greater. Be interested. And you will be interesting to them, because when you show up, they will know that they were seen and they felt heard. Roll that intro. I want to thank you for joining us at the Man Up and Own It show, where we talk about situations and difficulties that men may face and tell the stories of men and how they have overcome those situations in their life. And today I am shared this space right here at the Man Up and Own It show with my friend Doug.
Hey,
what's up, bro?
What's up?
I want to take a moment right now for you out there to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, because you're going to love what Doug has to say, and you're definitely going to love what all of the other guests have said and will say. Bro, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm a little bit underdressed, but we're here.
You know, I
here.
like to kind of challenge people in a way to the next time that they show up at maybe an event that I put on, or even at the podcast, that they do a little bit better.
A little competition.
Absolutely.
Well, I showed up to your event last month. I was just wearing a polo. I get there, I see everybody in suits and stuff. I'm like, bro, I gotta go home and change real quick.
Dude, that's a really good observation. Yeah. And you aren't limited to having that experience. In fact, there has been several guys that have shown up to one of the dinners, a little underdressed. Maybe they didn't know how to dress or what to expect. And when they got there, they came and told me, they're like, dude, I should have worn a little bit better. I said, bro, that's your opportunity to try something new next time.
Yeah, do better.
And you know what? They did.
Yeah.
And you know what? They came with the biggest smile, because they were so proud of them challenging themselves to do something maybe they hadn't done in a long time or ever.
Yeah.
And to stand next to their peers and look just as good.
That's what's cool about the mission and being there with you and everybody there. It's like, you could really tell everybody wanted to improve themselves, right? Like, it wasn't just a get together and like, everyone's driven, everyone's trying to be better. And that was super cool. So like, it was sick to be there. Sweet. Got me inspired.
Nice.
Now we're here. So
nice. Well, tell the world out there a little bit about what you do.
So my name is Douglas. I do social media marketing and content creation for local businesses. I created a website to showcase all of that. It's called Showcase Phoenix. And the whole goal is to highlight the badass business owners that make this whole ecosystem work, right? Like I've met so many cool people that they're just getting by, you know, doing their business and they're helping people, right? They have a huge impact. And they're often, it seems like they're kind of crushed or in competition with the big corporations, right? And so I'm trying to use my skills and my connections to help them do better and compete against that.
Awesome.
So
would you say mission. That maybe that they're camouflaged in a way, kind of like you and I are kind of camouflaged in these seating the seats, apparatuses?
Yeah, I'd say maybe they just don't know how to get the word out there, put themselves out there, right? And I think it's something that we talked about, you know, you talked about in the intro. A lot of people think that the way you put yourself out there is by talking about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can get smart about it, you can build connections, you can build relationships by listening. People are going to know about you a lot more, right?
Absolutely.
Like we had that conversation at Wicked Awesome, and it was more about me and what I do, right? You just listen and then you're like, oh, hey, I got an event coming up, right? And so by telling you about what I do and talking to you, and it's the same with anything else, but by sharing your story, you feel a lot more connected, right?
Absolutely.
And so the businesses, they all have a story. All the business owners, I've heard so many cool stories, like why they got into business, right? They were struggling. They needed to make something work. Their job wasn't cutting it. They did something with their passion. Holy shit, it took off, right? Now this is their business. And it's like, that's cool. But they don't know how to share that story. They don't know how to convey that message. And so I try and work with them. It's like, hey, you know, you have a cool product, but you're an amazing person, right? Let's highlight you. Let's talk about you. Let's put that out there.
Absolutely.
And by doing that, you know, you can connect with Bob, the cool guy that owns the grocery store, a lot more than you can connect with Costco, right? Because Bob has a compelling story. So it's really cool to try and find them and help them share their stories like that because they are camouflaged.
They are, right? And in a way, like they've almost done it to themselves. Granted, they may not necessarily know what opportunities are out there because marketing is very vast and it's very questionable. Like I've done a lot of different things. And in fact, having these conversations, this podcast, those dinners, just meeting people and shaking their hands and asking them about themselves has done more for me as a person and with my business than anything else.
Yeah. It's like that saying, you know, give and you'll get. It's true for everything. You put yourself out there, whether it's giving back to the community, helping somebody with something, and you're going to see those returns come back and you didn't even expect it.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm sure because of some of the connections you've had, you'll see a huge impact on the way your events grow and the way people just want to help you. Because it's framed as a way as like, hey, I'm serving men. I'm helping men. And so it's like, well, shit, I have a friend that needs help. Like, let me bring them in. Hey, Chris, what can I do to help you out with this event? Right?
Absolutely.
You're giving. And so then in turn, people want to give back to you.
And I think that's been the coolest thing is that there has been a lot of men that have stepped up. They've been there because that's them. They either recognize it in themselves or they recognize it in a friend or maybe both. And they're like, you know what, this is something that if maybe I would have had earlier in my life, it wouldn't have been as detrimental to me. It wouldn't have been so hard on me. And maybe I could be a little bit further along.
Yeah. Yeah. If you catch on a little bit earlier, you know, it's that force multiply, I think is the word for it, where the more effort you put in early on before you've kind of gone astray,
right,
the better the compounding returns are.
Absolutely.
And so the sooner you can get a hold of people and help steer them in the right direction, you know, in that example, the better it's going to be for sure.
I like to think about it in the sense of working out, exercise. Now, I was really young when I started working out. I got picked on a lot, but I started doing curls.
Okay.
My dad got me a curl bar. I thought it was super cool, and I did curls all the time.
Yeah.
Well, now my arms, because of all of the years, I'm like 38 now, so what is that? 26 years of doing curls.
That's a lot of curls.
Right. But my arms stay looking nice now. And that's all of that compounded interest from doing it in the very beginning.
Yeah. I did a video yesterday. The analogy I used was a plant. So, and the part of it was your social media, right? Okay, so your business is the seed. And nobody knows about it. It's just a small seed. But every time you post content, you do something to help the community, you just market yourself in some way, you're watering that plant. Because I bought a plant, right? And I'm trying to keep it alive, and it's hard. But it's way harder than I thought. But same thing with your business, right? Like you have this thing, and if you at any time you quit nurturing it, you quit doing something, it's not going to work out.
Right.
And it all starts early on, right? You've got to take care of it, especially when it's a seed. You got to put in the right soil, you got to take care of it, right temperature, all of that. And that environment that you put it in, that time you put into it early on is going to it's going to give you those results later on, right? And so it's the same thing. Business owners, they some of them don't think that hard about it. And you get so caught up, I think, in running the business. You don't think about all the other things that go into actually nurturing it or planning ahead. And a lot of people can benefit from thinking about it that way.
Well, I think that's the opportunity that having a team and trusted people around you gives. Because when you've established this foundation, not just for yourself, but people surrounding you, it gives it more fortification. It's like the idea of building a house on sand.
Yeah.
It's just going to collapse.
Right.
Well, you can build a better foundation by having other people of integrity around you to see the things that you're not trained to see yet. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of that in the conversations that you've had. Have the stories of the other business owners helped you eliminate problems from popping up?
I think it's helped me get to where I'm at a lot quicker, for sure, because I started doing this just 4 months ago. And early on, I started networking with people who were doing the same thing as me. So like my competition, so to speak, but by just having conversations with them, being completely honest, like, hey, I'm getting started. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, give me some advice, help me out. Right. And they're like, oh, I messed up on this, you know? And so I'm like, okay, I won't do those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really helped me get along. And so for me, like that direct impact on my business has helped a lot, but then talking to other business owners where it's like kind of a parallel, right? Like they might not do the same business, but they're like, oh yeah, I hired somebody and they completely screwed me over. So make sure that when you start working with, like, and I had that conversation with a mortgage guy yesterday. I was like, oh, you know, I'm starting to build out a small team. And he's like, yeah, they didn't show up for the job and I was still paying them. And it was just a big deal. I'm like, I should put systems in place to double check that, right? Even though he's not directly doing what I'm doing, I can learn from those mistakes and I can pull that into it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the difference between being a smart guy and being a genius.
Yeah.
Smart guy learns from his own mistakes. Genius learns from the mistakes of others,
right,
or the situations of others. And I think that's why things like this podcast are so monumental and maybe kind of overlooked a little bit, because oftentimes I don't feel like we want to necessarily hear other people's stories.
Yeah. We don't want to be lectured too. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I don't know if you watch TV. I don't watch TV. I don't even have a TV. And
rarely.
YouTube, I watch a lot of YouTube and audiobooks, but there's all these stories of people who have tried something, built something, failed at something, and they just put it all out there, right? And from that, I call it YouTube University, I've learned so much because all of that info is out there, you know, and it just blows my mind that people don't look at that stuff and don't analyze it. Like if you want to start a car dealership, you can watch YouTube videos and literally learn how to do that, right? You may not have all the resources, but you can learn how to do that. To me, that's so fascinating. You can learn from everybody's mistakes and be a genius, like you say. Our grandparents couldn't do that. No. They had to do it all by themselves. And it's probably why we see such rapid development nowadays in technology and everything like that.
The documentation is so vast right now, and our ability to communicate is so limitless. Like you said, like back in the day, you know, they didn't have that opportunity. I had heard a comparison to the idea of Satanism. All right, so way back in the day when it was kind of a thing, they had to travel all over the world, and it would take them so long to do these, like, get these things, to do these rituals. And it wasn't ever about actually doing the ritual. It was more about going on the journey and the experiences and the things that they would have to overcome. And nowadays it's so hyped up, and they got all these people pretending that they're a witch or they're a Satanist or whatever religion that they choose, right? Because they can go on Amazon and order the things and then do the ritual. And now all of a sudden they're this thing.
Yeah. It's that exposure to it through social media. Like there's a lot of different ways you can go with like what I just said. But for example, sometimes you scroll through Instagram and you're like, oh, man, I'm a failure, right? Because all you see is this dude's successful. This guy just made $1 million today, all that. And you're like, man, but it's like hyper
Sensationalized.
yeah, and it's all there, right? That's all we see. We don't see all the normal people that are struggling just like you or going through the same thing. But it's also, in my opinion, similar to like the trans stuff and everything like that, right? If you grow up and you have all of those influences because it's different, it's pushed out there, it's sensationalized, then you're going to have that impact as a kid, and it's going to steer your whole direction. So it's like all of those impacts of no matter what it is way more than we had 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And so it's drastically steering the directions we go, and it's definitely dangerous. So it's important to have groups and connections of people like kind of like yours, right? To say, hey, this is all the crazy land over here. Let's kind of get back to normal.
And that's kind of the whole concept for the dinners. And I see the hesitation in people's faces. Of course, I'm holding the mic. And when I ask, people questions or try to get people to give their inputs, I can just see the hesitations on their faces. I can see the anxiety because they want to say something, or they have an idea, or they've had the experience, but they're too afraid to let it out. And it's unfortunate because that's what's stopping us from actually making progress forward. I have a saying, and you've probably heard it before, but closed mouths don't get fed. If we're not willing to use our voice and the tool that it is, then it will go unutilized, and it could actually be harmful for us.
Well, go away. Like you quit using it,
It goes right back to your nurturing that you talked about of the business. If they're not putting into it, it's going to die.
I'm trying to think. There's something that I heard, like we have a bone to move something on our body, but we never use it. So then it like kind of went away, right?
Okay.
That whole thing. And it's the same thing, right? If you don't have the ability to stand up for yourself or say what's on your mind, then that kind of goes away. And it gets to what we were talking about before we started this, like that suppression and that resistance. It's a really crazy thing because it's pushed on it. Like, it's frowned upon to stand up. It's frowned upon to say what you're thinking. And that's why you see that at the dinners where everyone's just been conditioned to keep their mouth shut, go with the flow. Right. And you can't actually stand out. You can't actually build something. It's really hard to do it just by being compliant,
Unless you get an industry disruptor. And that's what I like to consider myself. A while back, I was challenged by a man named Andy Elliott to do more, to turn up the intensity. And in fact, turning up the intensity has led me to have all these great things. But it's made a lot of people uncomfortable, and it's closed a lot of doors for me. But I don't think that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
Those doors being closed only led me down the hall a little bit further to a better door to be open.
Yeah, it simplified things, right? They were closed. You didn't have to worry about that decision. You could just keep moving along.
Absolutely. No, it was kind of difficult for me because what I had to do was to stop taking away from myself because doors were being closed. Because I was making people uncomfortable. I had to learn to just accept it and to let them be who they were and to continue to be curious about other people and the person that I want to be remembered as.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Andy's a good person to talk about turning up the intensity, huh?
Absolutely.
Dude's super intense, and it works for him. And I think what you'll find is if you don't have haters, right? If you don't have people that are uncomfortable, they don't like you, you don't have true fans either.
Absolutely.
And it's a double-edged sword. And a lot of people want to sit over here in the comfort zone where they don't have haters, but they also don't have fans. And like you read Andy's comments, right? They're just people roasting him, and he doesn't care. Dude's fine. He's totally fine because people will pay thousands of dollars just to see him because they love him, but they wouldn't love him that much if there wasn't the haters.
Right.
And so it's a very uncomfortable thing. I did it when I started my YouTube and stuff. I talked about BMX, right? That was my whole thing. And I could have been like really compliant and try to make everybody happy, like in the industry, and talk positive about everything. But if something was shit, I'd call it out, right? And that made a lot of people unhappy. And like my first deal with a company was because I was talking shit about them not working with me, and I just put it out there. I'm like independent, right? Whatever's on my mind, I'll just say it. And some people loved it. Some people hated it. Like I would definitely get hate comments and it'd stress me out. But then you see the good comments like, dude, I love what you're doing. I love the integrity. I love that you don't just try to sell stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, that's why you're doing it. Right. You can just kind of ignore all the negative stuff and moving forward.
Do you think that people felt that you were more authentic because you were willing to say what you really felt, whether it kind of ruffled some feathers or not?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think it's rare, right? You don't see that anymore. It's very rare to find somebody who will say what they're thinking. And I was talking on the phone with somebody about this, and I think a lot of that connection that you get from that is because everyone else is too scared to say they're thinking it, but they're not going to say it. So then when you come out and say it, they're like, oh, thank God. Like I didn't have to say that, so they can just stand over here next to you. You can say it and they can feel comfortable, but agree with you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's one of the things that I heard a while back. It was a Donald Trump thing, and his rules of attention. His rules of getting attention.
Okay.
All right. You know what the first rule was? Get haters.
Makes sense.
Biologically, we are designed to recognize probabilities of danger. It's inhibited into us from our primitive states. That's how we are still here today because of stuff like that. Sure. So people are more likely to talk about things that are negative than they are positive. So how do we utilize that to help find the people that are supporters of us?
Yeah.
So once you get haters, then the supporters come. And I always thought that was off until I really started to be more authentic and to stop being a people pleaser. And that came with my confidence in myself. Was there ever a time that you felt where you were uncomfortable telling the truth?
Oh, dude, all the time. Yeah, for sure. Like growing up, I moved to New Mexico from Arizona to go to high school. And I moved there and lived with my grandparents to go to an early college high school. So I left all my friends in Arizona, moved over there to this thing. I didn't want to do it. My grandpa wanted me to do it, right? And it's like, oh God, I don't want to say no. Like I don't want to disappoint him. And that's been my whole life, I think early on of, my mom thinks this is a good idea. Like, I don't want to do that, but whatever. I'll just do it. That's how life is. And it wasn't until, I don't know, I probably read some book. And then the book's like, no, don't be a people pleaser. I'm like, I'm a people pleaser. Like, shit. And so it's hard though. It is so hard to change that around. Like
Absolutely.
that you get that uncomfortable feeling when you know you need to say no, but you just you can't, and I don't know if it's just maybe some people have a better background where that's not pushed, where it was acceptable to say no in their household. I don't know. But that's something I've had to work through a lot, and I feel like I'm still not there. It's something I'm working on every day. I think trying to do better at that.
I think that's all of us, though. If you look at our culture and our society, a normal person is almost kind of structured into believing that, not just from being at home with being obedient to the parents, but then they go to school and they have to be obedient to the teachers and please the teacher by getting these grades or passing this test or just some bullshit, right?
Things that probably don't matter. And they don't tell you why you need to do it, right? It's just because, right? Well, you have to do it because.
I got this idea, and maybe I'm off about it, but the idea of the people are out there pleasing other people, especially their teachers, because that gives the teacher validation for the job that they're doing.
Yeah.
And how many other places is that going on? You go to your job, and now all of a sudden you're doing a task to please your boss in hopes that the boss will give you a promotion or a day off or some dumb thing that you've agreed with yourself that he will have favor upon you.
I think it's a really fascinating thing because, like you said, it's definitely ingrained in us as we're growing up. And there's that whole saying that, oh, well, the school system really got popular when we started to industrialize everything, right? When we started to have factories and we needed people, because just think about it, like what we have right now, the fact that we're able to like manufacture things like this and just have vehicles and pump out all of that and food, we don't have to go to the field and pick our own food. Like it's all right there, right? That's only possible by creating systems where people don't have to think very hard and just creating it. So, hey, show up, I'll give you some money. You go home, you go to sleep, you show up the next day. And I think that's important, but it's really frustrating because it stifles creativity. And so like entrepreneurs, the people who have that drive would just like, I can't stand this.
They go crazy.
Yeah. Can you imagine working in a factory for 12 hours a day? There's no way.
I've done it.
There is no way. And
have you ever worked in a factory?
No, God, no.
Bro. Dude, I worked in a beef plant. You want to talk about some crazy production, man. Like watching it go from a whole live cow
down to
goo.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty crazy.
Man,
but like you said, there's systems in place for each and every task.
And the people. And so without the people, if everyone was running around trying to be an entrepreneur and everyone was running around free thinking like, oh, I'm going to build this business, or I'm going to sell just the cow's tongue, or I'm going to sell just the ribeye, right? It doesn't work that way. Right. You've got to do the whole process, and you need people to just do small steps of it. And I don't know, hot take that most people aren't designed for anything bigger than that.
Exactly.
And so it's okay, but it's not okay for the people who want more for themselves that are kind of forced into that because they don't have a way out, and it's ingrained.
I feel like those people end up getting labeled. It's like the kid in the class that has a hard time listening. But if the teacher actually went and looked at the kid's work, the kid's done.
Yeah.
Kids got straight A's, but kid's failing school because he's bored.
Yeah, super bored.
And he didn't fit the box of all the other kids, so now he's labeled as a problem.
Yeah. Well, and it's designed for like the lowest, 10% or something, just so they can keep up with everything. And everyone else that's above is just kind of stuck in that box of sitting around and waiting. And it's not fair for sure.
So let me ask you this. If you could get some advice out there for somebody to maybe not fit that box, what would it be?
Somebody who wants something.
Yeah. Like what would they have to go out and do to start achieving that?
I don't know. I'd say I'll just share like my experience. I always felt frustrated in any kind of job, right? And I did action sports, and so I wanted to travel, I wanted to see the world, and I wanted to make money like on my own. I hated having a job. And so what I had to do is figure out what skills I needed to get to the next level. What skills do I need? So, I went to England, I competed, I rode BMX, and I was like, this is cool. And like, I got there, and then I was like top 50%, not top 90%. And I was like, I suck. And then I came back and I'm like, okay, I love this. I want to make money from it. What do I need? Right. And so I was like, I need marketing skills and I need people skills. So I came back and I just applied for jobs that would give me marketing skills and people skills. And I started doing marketing for Texas Roadhouse. And while I was doing that, I was able to take everything that they were paying me to learn and apply it to like my online business and my side projects. And so then when that started growing, then I could kind of move over here. And so whatever it is that person wants to do, it's probably not work in a factory, right? You got to think about what your dreams are, what your goals are, and then what do you need to get there, right? So you've got, I'm here, I want to be here. There's all this shit in the middle. What do you need to move along that bridge, right? And I guess if you think about it as a bridge, you're like, okay, people skills gives me another step over here, right? Marketing gives me another step here. And depending on what you want to do, that looks very different.
Right.
But if you don't give like that 10,000 foot overview, you don't look at it in the bigger picture, you're like, I don't know anything. I hate what I'm doing. I hate my life. I hate, you get depressed and you just get stuck in that box. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you start to think about it a little bit bigger, you can start to take small steps and work on the things that you need to work on to move yourself closer.
I like how you used the Texas Roadhouse as an opportunity to get paid and to learn skills to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a totally underutilized opportunity by most people. They would rather not take advantage of a company because they want to do it all by themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that shortens it shortens them to be able to get it to where they want to be. Mm-hmm. Like the path could be a lot more beneficial if they utilize places like that.
For sure. I mean, there are businesses out there that are willing to pay you to learn the thing that you want to learn, right? You just got to find them and get your foot in the door. Like, let's say I want to start running ads for my clients, and that's going to be a big thing for me. It wouldn't be hard for me to intern with a company for 3 months and learn ads, right? And then say, hey, this isn't for me. And then dip out, take all those skills, and cool, now I know ads, right? Now I can start doing that for my clients. You got to be a little street smart, I guess. You got to be like, is that kind of messed up? You're going to work for the company to steal all their knowledge and then take it for your own? Not really. So. It's a dog eat dog world. You got to do what you got to do.
Let me ask you this. Last little quick one. Would they think twice about firing you?
No, exactly. Dude, you'll be gone right away.
So we got to take care of ourselves. We got to be the best version of ourselves, and we got to utilize opportunities to help us get to a place where we want to be.
Yeah. I think you should do right by the people who've done you right? Whether that's your boss, the company, whatever, but you don't owe anybody anything. And that goes back to saying no. Like we're afraid to say no because of what somebody's going to think of you. And when you die, they're going to eat food at your funeral and carry on about their life, right? So why do you fucking care what they think about you? It's crazy.
And it's a shame that we do. Now, if the people out there want to get a hold of you and they want to talk to you and they want some more of your help or insight, how do they get a hold of you?
Just find me showcasephoenix.com or on YouTube. I put out helpful videos that talk about taking your business to the next level. I feature businesses for free on my website to help local people find other local businesses, and whatever you need, just reach out. Showcase Phoenix.
Sweet. Well, it's that time that the Man Up and Own It show is coming to a wrap up. I'm being told by Buff Bill that it's time to go. So I want to thank every one of you out there for joining me and Doug and helping you find situations and describe opportunities on how you can do something better in your life. Don't forget to hit the like button and hit that subscribe button, because you're not going to want to miss the next episode of the Man Up and Own It show. Thank you.